On this edition of Motorcycle Experience, performing some parking lot magic. While on this season's ultimate ride, a pierced rock captures our imagination. Then during our Winging It segment, taking flight with a helmet that will go the distance. And Shifting Gears editor Jen Martin takes a closer look at tackling the concrete jungle. All this and more as Motovan presents Motorcycle Experience. Hello and welcome to Motorcycle Experience, the voice of motorcyclists everywhere. I'm Dave Hatch, and this week we'll kick off our show by sampling a luxury touring machine from the folks at Honda Canada. Of course, I'm talking about the Goldwing. Behold, a motorcycle that has been 40 years in the making. A 1,832cc Pancake 6 road-eating machine. A motorcycle that first started life back in 1975 as a liquid-cooled 1,000cc horizontally opposed 4 that set the standard for what would become known today as the luxury touring market. A motorcycle that feeds a passionate group of dedicated die-hard owners who just love to spend hundreds of accrued vacation time riding under the canopy of the open sky, wrapped in a bubble of wind-negating comfort, replete with a programmable GPS, XM stereo system, electric adjustable rear suspension, a linked ABS braking system, and over 150 liters of storage. All in one seriously sculpted package. You can even get it with an airbag if you want. Yep, Honda has never stopped tweaking their flagship Halo bike, and it shows. But you don't have to take my word for it. Here's what winemaker and former Goldwing owner Kemp Stewart had to say after a day in the saddle.
So Kemp, I don't really know where to start with the questioning on this thing. Honda has been making the Goldwing for 40 years now. I think by now they've got it right. Would you not agree?
I love the bike. Yes, I would absolutely agree. And 640,000 units, I don't think there's a lot of folks that are going to be that disappointed. Obviously, the bike has improved over time, and it's a wonderful piece of kit. I really enjoy driving it.
So we've had quite the test with the bike over the last week. You've been able to ride it in the pouring rain and in the blue sky sun. Let's start with the engine itself. I mean, it's buttery smooth, it's torquey, and it's got more than enough horsepower. Would you agree?
It's absolutely. 1,800 cc's, a far cry from the 1100 model that I had. That was a 1984 model. And the transmission, the shifting, really smooth, lots of power. Very, very impressed. This is a wonderful, comfortable bike to ride.
So it goes, it stops.
It stops very well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. On a dime, it's got
ABS. Although it's 400 kilograms, just over 900 pounds. But the really interesting thing about this, David, it doesn't feel like a heavy bike.
Yeah.
They've dropped the center of gravity on it. It doesn't feel tippy, and I've got to say the 84 really did. Just the turning radius also, the steering unit. It's you're able to get in and out of the garage and that sort of thing without, and then of course being able to back up also. A wonderful feature that I certainly missed on the old bike.
You like the reverse, huh?
Certainly did. Yeah.
You know, we could talk about the mechanicals of the motorcycle forever, but with touring motorcycles, it's all about comfort and protection. So let's talk about the comfort first.
Yep. Well,
saddle?
The whole thing. It feels like I'm sitting in an easy chair at home. Not only that, it has the added feature of warmed seats, and as well as handle grips too. Very, very comfortable. And for a touring bike, that's what you want. You don't feel, after riding this bike for 3 or 4 hours, that you've been beat up with the wind and all the rest of it. You're in a wonderful cocoon of air. And so, yeah, you don't feel bruised, you feel relaxed, and that's what you need for a touring bike.
You know, one thing, I got to live with the Wing for a little bit this last week, and what I really started to appreciate was his integrated luggage system, being able to lock everything at once, unlock everything at once. Did you get a chance to explore the luggage?
Absolutely. In fact, I was so impressed with the amount of luggage space. I actually went online to find out that there's 120 liters of storage space. So that made me think, you know, this is more than a touring bike. This is also a commuter bike. You could get a week's worth of groceries in here as an example, and that would make this purchase very justifiable.
What did you think about the fit and finish? You know, we've talked about years of refinement. What did you think of the finish of the bike?
Well, the finish is first class. It's very identifiable. It's an icon. There's no doubt that this is a Goldwing, and it doesn't act like it's a 900-pound bike. I can dipsy doodle around potholes and that sort of thing as if it was a sport bike.
What's the one lasting impression that this motorcycle leaves you with?
The lasting impression is that it is really a comfortable bike that I would want to take on vacation, and I would want my wife back here too. Just cruise and really enjoy the scenery very comfortably. And it really is designed, I suppose, for gray hairs, but boy, it means that younger folks are not excluded either. It's a really great, fun bike to drive. I love it.
Thanks for joining us today, Kent.
David, my pleasure. Thank you.
And don't forget, if you like Goldwings, we're helping Honda Canada celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Wing down in Prince Edward County, Ontario, later this summer. On Saturday, September 26th, be sure to join us at our second annual Wings Over the County at Kemp's Hillier Creek Winery. Hang in there, we've got plenty more experience still ahead. Next, touring expert Ken Edick doesn't wing it when it comes to protecting his melon. And after riding some 650 clicks northeast of Quebec City, Norm Wells and I finally reach the ultimate photo op. Portions of this broadcast are brought to you by Harley-Davidson, BMW Motorrad, and Honda Canada. Welcome back as Motovan presents The Experience. I'm Dave Hatch, and it's time now to talk about head protection with our in-house long-distance riding expert, Ken Edick. But before we do that, let's check out this week's ultimate ride. Today, Norm and I are reaching Pierce Rock. So this season, during our annual fall ride, we're in the province of Quebec exploring the scenic Gaspé Peninsula, with our ultimate goal to reach the town of Gaspé and its famous Pierce Rock, located about 650 kilometers northeast of Quebec City. After a couple of days of solid riding on a pair of K1600 GTs, we spent the final evening of this adventure in the town of Gaspé proper. Now, on the final morning of our trip, with only a couple of hours left before catching a flight back towards home, we decide to squeeze one last photo op in by making a quick 80-click dash out to the famous Pierce Rock. A spirited ride that made this last dash well worth it. Well, Norm, here we are, 8:30 a.m., day 4 of our ultimate ride. And you insisted that we get up this morning and push hard for an hour because you wanted to see a rock?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd essentially finished last night in Gaspé, and as we were sitting there, I was looking at the map and seeing where we had gone. I said, you know what, it's only 80 kilometers down the road, and we got to get to the place where everybody comes for a picture.
Right. So this is Roche Percé.
Yes,
Right.
First Rock.
It's fantastic.
Very cool, yeah.
It was certainly worth the ride, that's for sure.
Good.
We got up this morning at the Commandant Hotel in Gaspé. It was 3 degrees, wet roads, but it was really just a fantastic hour ride out here.
Yeah, and typical to what we've been seeing here is as you're riding along the coast, every now and then they'll shoot you inland and you end up on this roller coaster road, which is just absolutely beautiful to ride.
Yeah. So the road itself, we took the 132, and for the most part, we were following the coast, and it was sort of wide sweepers, and in the last 10K into here, another roller coaster.
Great fun, exactly.
Yeah, now tell me about this, because we have both the Pierce Rock, and we've also got Bonaventure. What's the deal with Bonaventure?
Bonaventure Island was purchased by the Quebec government in 1971, and they kicked everybody off the island, and now apparently it's one of the world's largest bird sanctuaries. So if you're a bird fanatic, another thing to do while you're out here.
And if you're into photography, like, it's just a classic shot.
Yeah, beautiful here.
So this really, truly is the birthplace of Canada. I mean, we're talking about over 300 years of history here, and the town itself is just full of little motels and restaurants, and clearly this is the payoff, right, at the end of the day?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. If this is one of your destination points. But again, this is on the route that if you're going to circle the whole peninsula, you're obviously going to go by this for sure. So
yeah. So the sun has come out. We've hit 5 degrees. We've got a couple of more hours to go before we hit the airport. What do you think? We'll go and explore the town a little bit?
Explore the town and ride that coast again.
Well, man, it was certainly worth getting up this morning for this.
Good stuff.
I'm glad you pushed us. Another ultimate ride. Be sure to tune in next week to catch the conclusion of this, our 14th ultimate ride. Meanwhile, Honda Canada is celebrating the 40th anniversary of their Goldwing this summer. And as a tribute to the art of long-distance touring, we've developed a segment we call Winging It. This week, our long-distance expert, Ken Edick, well, he wants to talk about your helmet. So Ken, this week on Winging It, I want to talk about helmets, because I have found that choosing the right helmet is so important when you're going on a long ride.
It is, because it's, aside from the safety aspect, it has to be comfortable, because you're going to be in it for the long haul.
Right. So we want to make sure, we know all the old tips about helmets. You want to make sure that you get a good one that fits properly, no pressure points. You don't want it loose, you don't want it rocking on your head, but on the other hand, you also don't want to have one of those big red marks every time you take the helmet off. So
I always said to people, like, if you ever did a lane change check and the world went dark, you knew the helmet was too large.
Right. So this one, when we talk about touring, this one is a game changer for me, because it also has built-in sunglasses, if you will.
Cool.
And the reason I say that's a game changer, it means that I don't have to pack sunglasses. I don't have to worry about putting them on, taking them off when it gets too sunny. As the weather changes, I can put the sunglasses on or off if that's what I want to do. But it's just one less thing for me to pack, and one less thing for me to break or drop.
And it's big. If anybody on the eastern half of the continent has ever done the Blue Ridge Parkway, you know you're in and out of tunnels. You can't get the glasses off and on fast enough.
Right.
Your eyes can't adjust fast enough, even if you did. So this works, and that's where the biggest key comes in, that you can have a change in the elevation to make cloudy and warm and change the sun exposure at the same time.
Right, so no need to stop and pull out the sunglasses or pack them up. I love that, and that's been a game changer for my touring.
Yep.
What about you? You've got the modular helmet.
Yeah, the modular is probably the newest invention of motorcycles apparel in the last few years. And for anybody that doesn't know already, it just allows that what appears to be a full face helmet allows you to take the chin bar right up. And this would allow you for, not necessarily for riding around, but this is when you make that stop and you need to ask directions, or you're at the gas station and you need to have conversation with anybody. You want to slip a quick drink to quench your thirst, or you want to grab a granola bar, you don't have to take the helmet off. All right, so full access there allows for easy identification when you go into the store, but slams back down and gives you almost the same protection as a full helmet.
Now, that may not seem like a big deal to some people at home, but for me, if I'm riding and I'm trying to get somewhere by a certain time, you know, I've got, 5 hours, I want to get somewhere. If I'm just stopping for fuel and I'm going to grab a quick bottle of water, the last thing I want to do is take my helmet off, take my earplugs out, do all of that. So that's what I love about that. It allows me to keep moving.
Yep, it's your own little cocoon. It's become very custom fit to you, and you don't want to upset the apple cart by having to take it off. So yeah, it allows a flexibility that only people with open face helmets would know.
Now you've personalized this with a little strip. What's the deal here?
Yeah, eventually you end up riding a little farther than you wanted to during the course of the day, and you don't have sun visors on a car. But this here is a static cling band that's made by some aftermarket company, and you just position it on the inside. If and when it's time to move on to the next helmet, you just peel that off. It's static cling, and you can put it onto the next visor.
Right.
But it's for when that sun is right down there low in the horizon, and other than that, you wouldn't have that. On an open face helmet, you'll see quite often they have a peak,
Right.
and you'll do the same thing.
Right.
But that's something I just came up with over the years. Before I invented that, I used duct tape.
Some more great tips from the old veteran on winging it. Good stuff.
Still ahead, gear to help you enjoy riding in the big city. And the ultimate Yamaha challenge goes urban for a little park and fly.
Welcome back as Motovan presents The Experience. I'm Dave Hatch, and it's time now for another installment in our Yamaha Ultimate Challenge. This week, Toastmaster Matt Fletcher, well, he wants to throw a little curveball into the mix.
Recently, we've been working on improving the riding skills of Anthony Mann by putting him through a series of motorcycle riding skills exercises designed by Matt Fletcher at Yamaha Motor Canada. Matt had hoped this friendly little challenge would show us all how we can become better riders when we practice our sport. All you need is some open pavement like an empty parking lot and a couple of makeshift cones or pylons. Now, after completing several slow-speed challenges, Matt wants to demonstrate how all that practice pays off in the real world.
So Matt, I'm starting to catch on here. The first 9 ultimate challenges, we took our camera crew up to the Picton Airport.
Yeah.
We were using the open spaces to practice the riding skills. And now last week and again this week, you've brought us back to Yamaha Motor Canada.
That's right.
We're in the parking lot. I assume we're going to have a challenge that involves the real world.
Yeah, another real world challenge, pardon me. So what I'm going to ask Anthony to do is go through the parking lot slowly. I'm going to hide behind a car, no one knows which one. I'm going to have my trusty little pylon here that I'm going to toss out.
Right.
And using the skills that Anthony's practiced up at the airport, he's going to have to avoid the cone safely.
Awesome. And hopefully he will not ride into any of these employees'
I hope
parked
not.
cars.
I hope not.
Right. Okay, so this is great. We're going to tie a few things together. You ready to do this, Anthony?
I am.
All right, let's give it a whirl. Okay, Matt, we're sending Anthony off. Why don't you go pick a spot to
right.
hide, okay? And then
Okay.
I'll wave him in.
All right.
Okay. Okay, Matt, here he comes. I'm giving him the starting signal.
Okay.
I'd say now. So Anthony, that was pretty good. Did you know where Matt was?
I had no idea. He hid well.
And you seemed literally, you were surprised, right?
I was. He jumped out of nowhere and threw the pylon, and it was just a matter of reacting.
Right. So you've been practicing your skills through the series of challenges that we've thrown at you this year. What did you pull together there at the last minute? It seemed like you were just ready to go.
It certainly paid off. A number of things came together. Of course, in the parking lot, just covering the rear brake and the clutch. Again, cautious that anything could happen, but when the pylon was thrown out, I'm thinking of collision avoidance, good body positioning on the bike, firm on the pegs, and eye lead, looking away from the object,
Right.
and looking in the safety lane that you needed to travel into
Right.
as I accelerated.
If you had focused on that pylon, chances are you would have hit it.
Exactly.
So you looked away.
Looked away, counter steered, accelerated, and got around that hazard.
What do you, I mean, you weren't going that fast. What do you think would have happened if you had grabbed the front brake?
I would have dropped the bike. It would have
Pretty
went
much,
down.
eh?
Yep.
Yeah.
At that speed for sure.
So pretty good, eh? You pulled all the skills together.
It's coming together.
Very nice. Nice job. Good toss.
Okay, then, now that we've got you all fired up, stay tuned because next, professional riding instructor Jen Martin takes a closer look at the city streets. Stay with us. Portions of this broadcast are brought to you by Harley-Davidson, BMW Motorrad, and Honda Canada. Welcome back as Motovan presents The Experience. I'm Dave Hatch, and now that we've got you all ready to go for a ride, we'll wrap up our show with our chief riding instructor at Georgian College, Jen Martin.
So Jen, we're up at Dealey Harley-Davidson Canada, and they've asked us to take a close look at this new street model, the Street. This is the 500, there's also a 750, and it's pretty cool because this is a motorcycle that was designed, when they started out designing this bike, they were thinking about the urban environment, right? So I started thinking, like, let's talk a little bit more about that environment. For instance, one of the great things about riding a motorcycle in the city is you can park them virtually anywhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty. I love riding the motorcycle specifically for that, because there's certain areas that are designated for motorcycle parking. You don't have to pay in certain areas as well. So it's a definite plus.
Right, but you still have to think about things like the security of your motorcycle.
Yeah, for sure.
Any tips about that?
Yeah, you know, I mean, obviously, if you're going to be staying in the city for overnight or something like that, you want to find a well-lit area. Because, I mean, I want to return to my motorcycle.
Right. What about locks, and there's all sorts of safety issues in terms of equipment you can buy for keeping your bike even more safe?
Yeah, there's aftermarket alarm systems, and I've certainly seen motorcycles locked up for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, so we know it's a great place and it's a great way to go in terms of getting into a city and riding through the city. One of the things that's really improved over the years is there are so many options now in terms of just tackling the city with luggage, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking with you before. I prefer having something like this, like a tank bag. I don't like carrying anything on me, so tank bags for me are great, and it's a great added accessory for the street. And I can store all my stuff in there, fold it up there, and have it in there.
Yeah, but I'm all about the backpack.
I know you are.
Right? I love this because I can stuff my laptop in here. I can even take a change of clothes if I do have a business meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm not affixing anything to the motorcycle. I'm always a last minute person. So, you know, the idea of actually getting something attached to the motorcycle, I just throw on my back and go.
Yeah.
And if I'm touring around a city, I can take everything with me as well.
Yeah, and for me, if I needed extra stuff too, there's attachments for the motorcycle as well. You could put a rack on the back, and if I needed extra stuff like that, I would probably bungee cord it or put some tie downs.
Now, I think when you're purchasing a motorcycle, you may want to consider something. If you're in an urban environment, you may want to consider something like the Street because you know it's going to live there. But some folks like to tour. I guess you can also consider convertible options, motorcycles that have things that come off and bolt on.
Yeah, the bags will come off, so it'll give you a narrower profile when you're in the city. But then you can put them back on for your touring, for sure. Yeah.
Right. So Harley-Davidson, and I think the industry in general, has made it really easy to ride in the city.
For sure.
Great stuff. Thanks, Jen.
Excellent.
Well, that's it for this week's program, folks. It's too beautiful a day. I've got to get out for a ride. But next week, we'll be down in Savannah, Georgia, sampling Honda Canada's all-new CBR 1000 SP. You won't want to miss that. So till then, keep your feet on the pegs and your right hand cranked. Bye for now.